What's up, guys? Every year we run this very list. Why your team won't win the Super Bowl. Well, we're correct 31 of 32 times every year. So trust us when we look into the crystal ball and explain why your team is in trouble heading into the 2019 season. There are about 7 legitimate Super Bowl contenders heading into 2019, plus a handful with an outside chance at claiming that Lombardi Trophy. As for the rest of the bunch, you can practically guarantee they won't be winning anything this season, and there are plenty of reasons why. So let's get into it. Here is one reason why your favorite team won't win Super Bowl 54. Make sure to subscribe to TPS and put on your notifications because we post videos all the time. New videos all the time. Make sure to comment your video ideas down below. We'll be looking, and if you choose your idea, we'll give you a shout out in the video. Arizona Cardinals, too much inexperience / rebuilding. No rookie starting quarterback has ever led this team to a Super Bowl. There is no reason to believe Kyler Murray will be able to do so. There's no guarantee that Murray's style of play will work in the NFL. This Arizona team features a rookie head coach in Cliff Kingsbury, and a bunch of young receivers, and a rebuilt defense. There's just too much inexperience here. It's a giant rebuild. It's way too early to think Arizona can emerge as a title contender. Just be happy if they win 6 games. Atlanta Falcons, defense. There are practically no concerns about that Atlanta offense. It should be one of the NFL's absolute best in 2019. But there are some reasons to be concerned about this defense. They ranked 28th in yards and 25th in scoring a year ago. Although the returns of Deion Jones and Keanu Neal provide good reasons for optimism, there are still weaknesses in the secondary. Also, Atlanta posted just 37 sacks last year. They didn't do much to upgrade their front 7 either. Head coach Dan Quinn has a lot of work to do in rebuilding a defense that often fails to live up to its full potential. Baltimore Ravens, one-dimensional offense. The Ravens have by far the best defense in the NFL, and their rushing offense is always among the league's best. But the problem here is that their quarterback is, in a lot of ways, a running back playing quarterback. Lamar Jackson won 6 of 7 starts and led Baltimore to the playoffs. But the LA Chargers took away the run and forced him to try passing in their wildcard matchup. It didn't go well, not in the slightest. Defenses won't be fooled by Jackson's rush-first mentality. If he can't adapt, the Ravens won't make the playoffs, nor will they win the Super Bowl. We saw what happened with Robert Griffin III and Colin Kaepernick. The heavy rushing style can only work for so long. It's up to Jackson to change his ways. Buffalo Bills, problems on the offensive line. The Bills had one of the NFL's top defenses last season. Their rushing game is always strong. Second-year QB Josh Allen should make giant leaps in 2019. So why should we doubt the Bills' ability to emerge as a title contender? Never mind that they play in the AFC East, which is dominated by the New England Patriots on an annual basis. The Bills' O-line was a mess last season. Can they really hold up and give Allen the protection he needs? Yes, the Bills added veteran standout Mitch Morse before drafting Cody Ford, but the latter is going to make rookie mistakes. It's just natural. And Morse isn't going to fix things on his own. The Bills' issues on their O-line will likely be the reasons why their Super Bowl drought continues. That's easily their biggest concern heading into 2019. Carolina Panthers, Cam Newton's health. If Newton's shoulder is healthy, and if he plays the entire season, then the Panthers will be a prime Super Bowl contender. But the problem is we don't know if Newton's shoulder will be 100%, and if he'll play every game in 2019. That's really only the main worry. The defense is championship caliber, and the offense has been rebuilt. Sign us up for DJ Moore, Greg Olsen, and Christian McCaffrey, but don't sign us up for Carolina's offense without Newton. Chicago Bears, who's gonna kick? Cody Parkey's game-winning field goal in the NFC wildcard game against Philadelphia was barely blocked, just before bouncing off the upright. No good. The Bears cut Parkey after the season, even though it wasn't exactly his fault. And now the team is desperate to find a new kicker for the 2019 season. They've tried out so many different guys, but seem to be unsure. That's definitely a bad thing. We feel for whichever guy becomes Chicago's next kicker. The pressure will be mounting on every attempt. And yeah, we just think this whole kicking saga is gonna somehow lead to Chicago's downfall. Cincinnati Bengals, rebuilding time. The Bengals are finally in rebuilding mode. They drafted Andy Dalton's potential successor in Ryan Finley, after bringing aboard a young head coach in Zach Taylor. The Bengals didn't add any marquee names via trade or free agency. They're obviously keen on tanking this year while watching their 3 AFC North foes duke it out. We have the Bengals being a bottom 5 team in the NFL. In fact, 0-16 and 1-15 never looked so possible for this franchise. Cleveland Browns. It's the Browns. The Browns have so much young talent on both sides of the ball. They added a superstar wideout in Odell Beckham Jr. plus veteran standout Sheldon Richardson and Olivier Vernon to an already stout front 7. So how can this new-look team that consists of Baker Mayfield, OBJ, Myles Garrett, and Denzel Ward simply fall apart? Well, it's the Browns. They've been a laughingstock in the Super Bowl era. They always fail. They always make mistakes. Why should we expect it to change? Maybe the Browns will be the 2011 Philadelphia Eagles, the proclaimed dream team that couldn't even make the playoffs. Could be. We don't know. Dallas Cowboys. Drama over contract issues. Entering the preseason, the Cowboys were working on contract extensions expectations for their offensive triplets of Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and Amari Cooper. We're not so worried about the Cowboys reaching a new contract with Cooper, but it sounds like Zeke is willing to hold and sit out without a new deal. Prescott's contract situation is also tricky. Will all of this drama become too much for Dallas? The Le'Veon Bell drama in Pittsburgh last year led to a toxic locker room, which led to a disastrous second-half meltdown. Might the same fate reach the Cowboys? Better rid themselves of that contract drama, because the pieces are certainly there for a championship run. Denver Broncos, the quarterback situation. With all due respect to John Elway, comparing the Joe Flacco Drew Lock situation to that of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay was kind of funny. Flacco has been hampered by injuries, and he's entering his age 34 season. If he struggles, the Broncos are going with Lock, who comes with more questions than answers. The Broncos have a lot of developing to do with him. We love this Denver defense and their offensive playmakers, but the quarterback situation is iffy at best. Unless Flacco turns back the clock or Lock becomes a superstar out of nowhere, it's going to be another losing season here in the Mile High City. Detroit Lions, coaching. Is it too soon to add Matt Patricia to the list of Bill Belichick assistants who failed at head coaches? The Lions finished 6-10 in his first year on the job, and an unnamed player claimed that Patricia was habitually late for meetings. Not exactly inspiring. Remember, the Lions fired Jim Caldwell following a winning season in 2017. He went 36-28 in Detroit, and that still wasn't good enough. So yeah, another losing and non-playoff season for Patricia will be deemed unacceptable here. Too bad Patricia hasn't done much to convince us that he's the guy that can lead this team to a championship. Green Bay Packers, not enough playmakers on offense. The Packers will be fine on defense. Aaron Rodgers will do everything he can to help this team. But do Rodgers and new head coach Matt LaFleur have enough weapons to work with on offense? Devontae Adams is a top-tier receiver, but they're a little thin at the position after him. Aaron Jones is a good running back, but not a great one. The Jimmy Graham signing doesn't look so good. The Packers didn't add any big names to complement Adams and Rodgers. The lack of true playmaking talents on offense outside of those two lead to one likely conclusion: the Packers won't win the Super Bowl. Houston Texans, problems in the secondary. The good news is that the Texans' O-line can't possibly be as bad as last year. The other good news is that they have one of the game's top pass rushing units, led by J.J. Watt. The bad news is that the Texans had one of the game's worst passing defenses last year, and it figures to get worse here in 2019. Why? Well, top cornerback Kareem Jackson and Pro Bowl safety Tyrann Mathieu left in free agency. The Texans didn't do much to replace either stud. We don't doubt that Deshaun Watson and the offense will score a lot of points, but we don't doubt that the Texans will give up a lot of points as well, and that's why they won't be winning the Super Bowl. But again, we could be wrong. Indianapolis Colts, questions at quarterback. As you all know, Andrew Luck shockingly announced his retirement after coming off perhaps the finest season of his career. You don't replace a quarterback of Luck's caliber, so the Colts are in deep trouble here. Jacoby Brissett has shown some abilities to be a starting quarterback, but there's a lot of work to do with him. The Colts QB depth chart isn't exactly spectacular, and there aren't any quarterbacks available on the trade market that can arrive to save the day. Losing Luck all but ruins the Colts' hope of winning a Super Bowl. Jacksonville Jaguars, lack of playmakers on offense. Cutting Blake Bortles was necessary. Signing Super Bowl 52 MVP Nick Foles may go down as the greatest move in franchise history. The offense should be better in 2018, but how much better is the question. The Jaguars don't have many playmakers to offer for Foles. Top receiver Marquise Lee will try to rebound after missing all of 2018 with a knee injury. Can oft-injured running back Leonard Fournette finally break out? Who else will catch passes from Foles? The Jaguars boast one of the game's best defenses, but it's hard envisioning them going very far with the supporting cast on offense. Kansas City Chiefs, defense. Pretty sure this was the same reason as last year. Pretty unbelievable as well. Patrick Mahomes tosses 50 touchdowns, wins the MVP, lights up the Patriots with 31 points in the AFC Championship game, and the defense still managed to blow it. Kansas City's defense was responsible for a heartbreaking AFC title game lost to the Patriots. Frank Clark replaces Dee Ford, while Tyrann Mathieu should be a nice weapon in the secondary. But the Chiefs didn't replace Pro Bowler Justin Houston. And even if this defense gets better, is it good enough to guide KC to a championship? That's all we're worried about. Los Angeles Chargers, they always let us down. 2006 was supposed to be the year of the Chargers. Then 2007, then 2008, then 2009, then 2010, then 2011. Then we gave up for a while, then 2018 looked like the year, and then they blew it again. So why should we expect anything different? Yes, Phillip Rivers is still great, no doubting that. Yes, their defense is ridiculously loaded with talent, but it's the Chargers. We don't want to use the word chokers, but they always underperform in the postseason. Los Angeles Rams, injury concerns to star players. The Rams have more than enough talent to avoid the Super Bowl hangover. But Todd Gurley's workload is going to be cut back due to a nagging knee injury. Top wide receiver Cooper Kupp is recovering from an ACL tear. Aqib Talib missed time with an ankle injury in 2018 and didn't look like his normal self once he came back. So yeah, we're a bit worried about how some of the Rams' top players will perform in 2019 as they try to return from serious injuries. If Gurley especially isn't 100%, the Rams' offense takes a huge hit. Miami Dolphins. Tank time, not Super Bowl time. The Dolphins won't admit it, but it's quite obvious they're tanking. Adam Gase was fired and replaced by Brian Flores, who hasn't had a coaching gig in the NFL yet. Ryan Tannehill, Danny Amendola, Cameron Wake, and Frank Gore are all gone. The Fins didn't have much talent on either side of the ball, especially on offense. Journeyman Ryan Fitzpatrick and second-year QB Josh Rosen will lead the offense, but there isn't much to work with. Expect the Dolphins to finish with one of the worst records in 2019. On the bright side, they'll be in the running for the first overall pick. Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins doesn't beat good teams. The Vikings went from 2017 NFC runner-ups with Case Keenum to no playoffs with Kirk Cousins in 2018. Football is very funny sometimes. After the 2018 season, Cousins had a 4-25 career record against teams with a winning record. The only playoff team the Vikings beat last season? The Philadelphia Eagles, who got off to a very sluggish start in 2018. So if Cousins gets Minnesota to the playoffs, y'all really think he's going to clutch up and win 3 or 4 postseason games en route to a Super Bowl? Yeah, neither do we. New England Patriots. No Rob Gronkowski, Gronk replacement. Rob Gronkowski announced his retirement after winning his 3rd Super Bowl with the Patriots. Even though injuries led to a down year for the future Hall of Fame inductee, he was still a productive part of their offense. And he really came through with some big plays in the postseason. The Patriots weren't able to find a suitable replacement. Not that you can replace Gronk anyway. His strong personality and leadership will be missed immensely as well. Without number 87, the Patriots passing game takes a hit. And you can bet Tom Brady will be missing his longtime pal this season. New Orleans Saints. Lady Luck. I mean, what else can we say? The Saints should have been in the last 2 Super Bowls, but they were victims of the Minneapolis Miracle in the 2017 NFC Divisional Round. A year later, they lost in the NFC Championship thanks in large part to the worst missed pass interference call of all time. So with an explosive offense and championship caliber defense, what's stopping the Saints? Nothing more than luck probably. This team just hasn't gotten any bounces in the postseason when they needed it the most. Otherwise, we'd confidently say that they're the favorites to win the Super Bowl. New York Giants. It's rebuilding time. In trading Odell Beckham Jr. and Olivier Vernon, coupled with the draft selection of quarterback Daniel Jones, it's quite clear that the Giants are preparing for a rebuild. They also lost Pro Bowl safety Landon Collins in free agency. So yeah, the Giants seem happy to tank this year. They'll probably bench Eli Manning in favor of Jones at some point, hoping he and Saquon Barkley will be able to anchor a young offense. The Giants won't flat out admit it, but it's quite obvious they'll be happy with the top 5 selection in a stacked 2020 draft class. So Giants fans, don't even think about a Super Bowl. At least you have the Yankees, unless you're a Mets fan. That sucks. They might get the wild card. We'll see. Maybe. New York Jets. Too young. The Jets have the pieces in place to eventually compete for Super Bowls, but it's still way too early to think they'll flip the switch and turn things around here. We do think Sam Darnold will have a breakout year. We do believe Le'Veon Bell will do just fine in his new team. The defense, anchored by Leonard Williams, Quinnen Williams, and Jamal Adams, should make giant leaps. But the Jets' young talents still need more time to develop. The AFC is stacked with other contenders, so the Jets aren't quite ready to reach the next level. They may record a winning season, but it's too early to think this team will win a Super Bowl. Oakland Raiders. Derek Carr's declining play. We just don't think Derek Carr has what it takes to lead Oakland to a Super Bowl. Obviously, injuries haven't helped his cause, but word is that he lost the Raiders locker room. Yet still, John Gruden seems to have plenty of faith in him. Even though the Raiders added Antonio Brown, Tyrell Williams, and Josh Jacobs, we don't think those 3 will single-handedly revive Carr's career. He's an average quarterback, not a great one. Can't see the Raiders turning this around, even if they got to the postseason. Do you really trust Carr to outduel somebody like Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, or Phillip Rivers? Philadelphia Eagles. Carson Wentz health. Top to bottom, the Eagles have the most talented roster in football. They have a ton of weapons on offense and championship caliber defense. We're just a bit worried about the status of Carson Wentz heading into 2019. It predictably took some time for Wentz to recover from an ACL tear that he sustained in 2017. He was shut down for the final 3 games of 2018 because of a back injury. Those are 2 very serious and worrisome injuries for a young QB to go through. That's all we're really worried about for the Eagles. If Wentz's health holds up, then Philly will be a prime Super Bowl contender. If he's not 100%, sorry Eagles fans, but there's just no Nick Foles around to bail you out this time. Pittsburgh Steelers. No more killer bees. The Steelers missed the postseason in 2018 without Le'Veon Bell, and now they'll be without all-pro receiver Antonio Brown as well in 2019. That leaves Ben Roethlisberger as the final remaining member of the killer bees. The Steelers know that James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster are fine playmakers, who should flourish as Big Ben's go-to guys. But are they good enough to guide the Steelers to the playoffs? That's the million-dollar question. If the offense doesn't regain its status as a real juggernaut, it's going to be a very long year in the the Steel City. San Francisco 49ers, the secondary. The offense should take off with Jimmy Garoppolo, hopefully healthy in 2019. The front seven will be flat out dominant with the additions of Nick Bosa, Dee Ford, and Quan Alexander. But what about the secondary? Richard Sherman is no longer a Pro Bowl caliber corner. There are problems all over the secondary. The 49ers will score points, and they will get to the quarterback. But man, this secondary won't scare many offenses around the NFL. Can't see this unit stopping the likes of Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, or Carson Wentz come January. Seattle Seahawks, leaky secondary. Same as San Fran. Predictably, Seattle's defense took a step back in the post-Legion of Boom era. Pro Bowl safety Earl Thomas is gone, and Seattle didn't do much to upgrade their secondary in the offseason. The Seahawks ranked just 17th against the pass last season. We expect that to get even worse. The improvements made by San Fran and Arizona in the division won't help matters. Russell Wilson and the offense might do just enough to get Seattle into the postseason, but the defense will prevent them from winning Lombardi Trophy #2. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, defense. The Buccaneers had the second worst scoring defense in 2018. They ranked 27th in yards, and the unit only posted 38 sacks. Not exactly inspiring. The front office made a questionable choice to cut Pro Bowler Gerald McCoy, replacing him with the past his prime Ndamukong Suh. New head coach Bruce Arians and new DC Todd Bowles deserve the benefit of the doubt, but there's just not much talent to work with here. Arians' main task is to save Jameis Winston's career. Even if he does that, we're still doubting that Tampa Bay will go anywhere with his defense. Tennessee Titans, AFC South is daunting. The Titans really have the pieces in place to make a nice run in January. The offense has been rebuilt, and Marcus Mariota is primed for a breakout year. The defense was the top tier unit last season, and they still have room for improvement. But our main worry is this: the Titans play in a stacked division with 3 other playoff and potential title contenders. Last season, the Titans won 9 games, but still missed the playoffs, finishing just 3rd in the division. 9 or 10 wins might not be enough to get Tennessee back in. That's what sucks. If they were in any other AFC division, we'd be more optimistic about their chances of making a run at the Super Bowl. Washington Redskins, quarterback questions. With Alex Smith missing all of 2019, one of these 3 guys will be tasked in trying to lead this extremely flawed Washington team. Colt McCoy, who is coming off a broken leg, has been a career backup. Case Keenum, who is a career journeyman that has never cemented himself as a starter for obvious reasons, and Dwayne Haskins, who is a flashy rookie, but still needs a lot of time to develop. See where we're going with this? 2019 is another rebuilding year in Washington. None of their QBs are capable of taking them to a Super Bowl right now. So if you live in DC, don't get overly optimistic. But they were victims of the Minneapolis Miracle, but they were victims of the Minneapolis Miracle. But they were victims of the Minneapolis. But they were victims of the Minneapolis Miracle. But they were victims of the Minneapolis. Fucking Minneapolis. I'm so used to Minneapolis. It's not Minneapolis. But they were victims of the Minneapolis. I can't do this. Why can't I say this thing? Minneapolis. I thought it was Minneapolis. Minneapolis. But they were victims of the Let's do this. We got this. But they were victims of the Minneapolis. I keep saying Minneapolis. Minneapolis Miracle. But they were victims of the Minneapolis Miracle in 2017, and but they were victims of the Come on. But they were victims of the Minneapolis Miracle in 2017 NFC. But they were victims of the Minneapolis Miracle in the 2017 NFC Divisional Round. Boom. Sort of. Who do you think will win Super Bowl 54? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post videos as well all the time. Want more of me? Go there. Make sure to like this video if you liked it. It takes 1 click right down there. Smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe to TPS and put on your notifications, because you know why? We post videos all the time. New sports content all the time. Subscribe. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. My knee.